First of all, I want to say that the objective of today's webinar is to tell you a little about the use of the statistics in Boccia. And for that, I divided the presentation in 3 points: the use of statistics in sports, how can it be used in Boccia, and how the information collected can help coaches. So statistics is a scientific discipline that involves the collection, classification, analysis, and presentation, and is used to get conclusions from given data. There are many uses of statistics in sports, and almost every activity that takes place in the world of sports depends on that to make the sports more effective. Every sport requires statistics, helping to get the idea about the performance. Probably some of you have saw the movie or read the book Moneyball. That is a great example about how can the use of statistics help the coaches. For those who have not seen it, I highly recommend it, not to learn how to do, but to understand the influence that can have in success. In this movie, one baseball team is confronted with a salary constraint to construct the team and talk about how can they try to solve the problems using statistical data to analyze and place value on players that they pick for the team. Statistics and data analysis have grown in the field of sports over the years, and nowadays sports are using the statistics data into next level. There are several companies that have developed software or applications that can automatically output information based on video. The collection of the data has driven innovation in sports and given an advantage to ones that use it. There are some manufacturers that develop devices that can, for example, analyze the trajectory of shot and give some advices to improve, collect data on string of tennis or golf, for example, and other that collect data of the cadence of some movements like swimmer and rowers. The application of some of these instruments to Boccia can be giant, and I think in a few years we can have specific instruments to use. I hope so. With the use of this, we can make a better understanding of technical process and help in data collection process. So, for example, the vNote is one software that is available in 2 versions in the internet, one free version and one pay version. But you can, for example, easily transform your all 40 minutes game video in a highlight video with only throws that you want to see in order to resume the game or better understand some technical aspects. It also helps you to make the game analysis or ask you to do the players to do. So in that we have the one thing that you can run the video and you have one or 2 or the lines that you want, and you can tag that lines during the video. After that, you can ask to the software to put all that moments all together, and if you put play, you can have that moments that you choose. And easily you can export that video and send it to the players or to your own team. And if you do different videos, you can also create a playlist from one player or the player that you want, and you can send that moments to that. So in the end, during the competition and different games of the competition, you have all parts of the games of the player that you want to see and analyze. Dartfish is another solution that can do the same, is able to do the same thing that vNote, but is a little more expensive. But if you have the chance to have it, probably you have one better software. With that, you can use it to make the assessment of the technical process, and you can collect some data, and even in the software you can do the statistics of different games. So here is one example and how can be used. We can have 2 different videos from one player that you are assessing, and you can match the videos all together. And with that, you can show to the players the things, why the things run well or not so well. And here, for example, we have in the first position, and the ball beats around 4 meters, and in the blue one beats a little longer, and the outcome was the ball in the jack or the ball very long of the jack. So if you show this to the players, can be useful to them to try to change the situations. This is for sure a big world to explore and to learn. And if you like, my purpose is that you spend some time exploring different solutions. Some of them are free or have available free trial to experiment. Okay. So let's continue. And I will show here a little example in how can the numbers and statistics really can help to take decisions, even at first sight seems to be an easier choice. You probably know Cristiano Ronaldo, and he knows that he plays from the football national team, and usually he is the player that converts more than 90% of direct free kicks. The exercise here is simple. Imagine that you are the national coach of Portuguese football team, and your statistical department gives to you this infographic. With this presentation of data, the coach have more understandable information, making the choice easier. So we have Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, and Sergio Oliveira. These are real statistics. And as you can see, for sure, the life of coach seems to be easy, but I think is not. I don't understand now why the coach Fernando Santos continues to choose Cristiano Ronaldo. But I hope that next time he can improve the success of this average. So to resume, and we can say that statistics can be used in a descriptive rule, a probabilistic rule, a rule of visualization, and as a predictive rule. And it can be used in different ways and perspectives, like we can see. So these are the different uses of statistics in sports. And for us as coaches, it's important to understand how can statistics can help us and how can be important to use on. So, like we saw in the last example, at top level management, statistics are used to aid in decisions making. Data from past experience are analyzed and right decisions to make to avoid similar occurrences. Coaches can choose tactics with the help of it. Another way is, for example, to use it to identify weakness and strengths and anticipating opponent's behavior. The statistics can also be used into training to highlight areas of improvement, helping to identify or rectify their mistakes and analyzing players' performance. Coaches highlight areas of improvement by reviewing data of their previous games. A proper understanding of the statistics determines the success of the team or a single athlete. Applying some tests during development phase, we can compare and control and predict the development of some players, and in that way can overlook the younger players as well as undervalued players by their teams. But in the order to have final numbers and decisions to be made, you have to collect data, and it's important to understand what you want to know. In that way, observation will be central in that process. This is a difficult process, and we have to learn, observe, and create some instruments that can help us to collect and retain more information. Some authors say that international level coaches can only remember a maximum of 30% of the information provided by the game, indicating that the naked eye observation has a very low precision and little validity. Looking is for sure good, but it may not be enough to observe with attention and see beyond of the obvious. All of we, as coaches, would like to be like that child, seeing more than what is in front of your eyes. And one or more time, statistics can help us to see better. The scope of this webinar is not to explore different ways and how to create instruments to collect data that really observe and measure what is intended. But without data, we don't have statistics, and without observation, we don't have data. We are exposed, some of the most used methods to getting data, and it's important to realize that all can be used depending on what you want to observe. So the observation and the game analysis can be done by different ways, and in Boccia, the aspects associated with technical competence and accuracy in the execution of different types of shot seems to be the aspects that most coaches use. However, I should say that the observation and game analysis models should be in attention, not only the technical and tactical aspects, but also motor activity and how the internal and external aspects can influence on that. For example, in Brazil, they are developing one study trying to see if there are influence of the heart rate increase in the accuracy of shots. And there are for sure some other examples that can see the influence of that indicators from the players. About the technical and tactical aspects, we can use quantitative or qualitative analysis, and you may build your material taking in consideration the answer of these questions. Why? Why I want to have this information is because you want to collect and interpret the greatest and the best information possible, which can help us to reduce the unpredictability of the game and know better your players. And what you want to know better? You want to know the tactical, the tactical, the physical and psychological aspects of individual, pair, and teams. And when you should collect that information. Perhaps you can collect it when you want, but it's better if you do during or as soon as possible after games, and sometimes during the practice. Take this work to later on cannot be a good solution, because sometimes you will have work after work and then you don't want to do that. And who can do that? The coach, the assistant coach, the observer, but all of them is very important that who analyzes is completely aware of the instruments and what about the intent to be observed. And finally, how it can do it. And we can do by different ways, direct or indirect ways. And you need to prepare your material and take in attention some procedures. And we will talk a little about that. What is the material that we will need and the procedures that you have to use. So about the material, obviously you will need the observation sheets. And there exist a lot of examples of that sheets, and you can make more quantitative way, or right here, you can describe the situations and you can put some notes, or otherwise you can use the one more quantitative way when we will score your play, and after that you will resume better the information in quantitative way. And it's important to have I will show you later better this one, some analysis to the player do by himself. So you will need the recording camera too, and the photo camera. And if you will make the record of the game, you have to have an adequate software like VNote to be more easier to work that video. If you don't have it, I recommend that you make small videos during the game or take pictures of different situations to analyze later. But even in using the photos, take careful. And if you will catch only the game situations, take another picture about the panoramic of the game that can help you to see the position of the players and not only the situation of the game. Because after that, if you only have the situation of the game, it can be difficult to understand really what the situation is. And another advice is if it's possible, when you take the pictures or you make the record, put the photos of the same game in the same folder, because when you made the download to the computer, later on is easier to work on that. About the procedures. Okay, after recording the video, don't use all game, but only the highlights, and use videos about 5 to 8 minutes, and take careful about the angle of view. And about this, I will like to show you these situations, because all of they are the same situation, exactly the same situation, but focus on different sides of the court. So you have the player view here, the assistant view is behind the player is the assistant, and it can be a little higher than the player. The backside view, the front view, and the bird's eye view. And here again, I will take attention what I said before. Put some stamps there, or you have to understand where is the position of the players to understand later what is that position, because it's really difficult to understand if you only have this point of view. So about the procedures, adding the information given before, we have that to make the report of the analysis made it soon as possible. It's helpful to give the collected information to the players. They make part of that plan, so they have to have access to that. And ask to players to make their own analysis and compare by discussing different perspectives. When you are analyzing your opponents, use the same procedures, but taking in attention that the observation sheets should be more qualitative analysis and including some quantitative, but they should be centered in qualitative analysis and should be based in 3 or more games, depending on the knowledge that you have of the opponent. So this is the one information that can be helpful for you if you are in different stages of the pathway of the athlete. So to collect and use the data can be important, but when we are starting, it's not so important to have the information in the game analysis, and it is more important to work here in the technical process and motor coordination, and try to see much times these ones instead of going to the computation analysis. When you go deeper in the pathway, when you come to an elite player, in that way, make more sense to analyze the competition instead of put all your eyes in the technical. But I'm not saying that you have to don't do that, but for sure this player have all process done, and you don't need to be so intense in that. So I think that you can use this table to rearrange your work and pay attention in right things in the right times. But now, after making this resume of these more theoretical things about the statistics and how we can use it, we will enter in the main question. We have built and developed different instruments, and we have videos of all games and some training sessions, and we have all checklist fulls, and now, this is for what? So this is my first years in the sport, and this photo try to show that, because I try to collect everything and know more things about the players and about where they play and how they play and how my players enter in the games. And I collect sheets of papers. And in the first years, I don't use it because I come home, I put in the folder, and after 1 week or two, I forget them that. So during these years, I'm changing my way to work, and it is important that you have some procedures that can easily make you use that. So many of us don't have that set of data collected, but don't go beyond that. They are like the great information with a lot of informations, but from which is difficult to get any really useful information. And now, why we all have this if we cannot use it easily? So this is the question. And now, so keep calm and use statistics. So statistics can help you transform the gray information in one colorful, effectively, and useful information. In this point, can be important to use some software, and the use of Excel or similar software can be a good solution. But now, the utilization of business intelligence software like Power BI from Microsoft or Tableau can go even deeper, making fantastic analysis of information and giving dashboards with even more detail. So, but we have to be one thing in attention and to be careful. The software will give what we want, but the interpretation of that is made by you. And I will give you a little example. There are two persons whose food plan is chicken. The average of chicken eating is 1 chicken per day. However, we found that one of them always eats 2 chickens and the other doesn't eat anyone. But the information gives is that the average is 1. So we'll have one fat person for one side, and probably the other person is near to that. So we have to think in this, and we have to read correctly the numbers that appears to us. So how can statistics and data presentation can help us as coaches? So what I will try to do now is try to start the process like a coach. And I will pass during this the pathway and how we can use the statistics, giving some examples. So at this moment, imagine that you are starting to be a coach of Boccia. A good instrument to have and to use it is the skills test proposed by BISFED at coach level 1. If you can pass it 3 times during 1 week, can be better in order to have more consistent data. I don't know if all of you are familiarized with this, but this test, we will put the jack ball in these different points, in these different areas, and the player playing from the box number 4, we will attempt 4 times to place the ball there. So then you will use a rule to measure the distance, and you will give 5 points if the ball is near from 15 centimeters, 3 points if it's between 15 to 13 centimeters, and we will give 1 point if the ball is 30 to 45 centimeters. And with that, you will have the proximity of the ball to the jack. So you can collect the information in the table, but during the training sessions, you can have the one tablet, one iPad, or another tablet, and you can put the information directly there. So if you have available to do that, you will put the score. So 5 points, 3 points, 1 point, or 0 points. Here I have another information is the quality of the balls, and I will score if that ball is in the line of the opponent, and I will put the information for all balls. And in the end, I will have the total score and the total balls that are in the good position. So using the Excel, we can easily have the information of what are the average percentage of our players. So here we have the information and the points until the 3.5 meters, until 5 meters, 3.5 to 6.5 meters. So we try to get the information together. For example, until 3.5 meters, I will put the 2 meters middle, the 3.5 meters left, and 3.5 meters in the right. Until the 5 meters, I will put these ones and plus the 5 meters and in the cross, and I will group some shots that was made in the test. But to analyze even better can be the number of scores that we have for different balls. So we can see that this player, these are not real data. They are only to show you these situations. So in this situation, this player can play very good in short because all balls are near to the jack, less than 15 centimeters. And as long as you go far to the court, you will see that the balls will be longer for the jack. But these are really numbers, and to help the players can be even better if you can present one graphic like this. And with this, there are no doubts about the information. This is the ball that you play to the left side. These are the balls that you place to the right side, and this in the center. And this is the accuracy for the different distances, okay? So this is by distance, this is by the different points of the test, and here is the average score. So here is the total points, and here is the average of the score. And looking to this, you can see some tendencies of your player. Perhaps this player play better to the right side than the left side in short, but here is not the same situation, so you have to check this again. But you have this profile better in shorter game and worse in longer game. So what? So why you use this? We use this to assess the training process, help in the planning of the training sessions, create more objective and realistic goals, create own match plans, and discover new talent players. So there are different uses of this first step of the statistics, and it's very important here to how can this help us coaching planning our training sessions. Because let me put again, if we have this profile of player, maybe it's time to work more in this, and we will give more importance in the next sessions of training in these areas. So this can help us a lot in that. Don't forget, share this and talk with this with your players. They make part of the process. Don't forget it. I will say it repeatedly during this presentation. After this first step, you have starting the point of your work, and next step is do the same after a cycle of training session. This is you assess, then you plan the new, I don't know, 3, 4, or 5 or 6 weeks of training, and then you need to assess it again. With that, you will have the information you need to see if what you are doing is going in good direction, or if you have to change something. And with that, you can compare the two moments. So we have here, again, the information in the data 1, and here after 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. It depends of the work and the number of sessions that you have, and you can assess the development of the player, and easy to understand. And you can show the graphics in other ways, and here you can see better the evolution of the player. Showing to him is even easier to understand it, and is easier to see the shorter game and the longer game of this player. So it's very clear the difference between this one. So another time you have maybe to focus on these areas in the next sessions of training. And you can present another type of graphics that can help more to see the evolution of the player, and easily understandable to how he is growing during the time or not. Sometimes he's not growing so much. So why you do that? You do that because you need to assess the training process. This is important to understand the impact of the training sessions. So this is the correct work to do with my players. The work that I'm doing is having impact. Obviously, you don't expect that the player will change from 20% to 80% during 3 weeks. But in the end of the year, perhaps the player should be better. If he's not, you have to think and how to change your training situations in order to improve that. And this is important to reconfigure the match plans and compare the different technical process and choose the best for each situations. And with this, I want to say that imagine that you have one player that plays underarm and the upper arm, or with the left hand or with the right hand, for example, and you can access and see the differences, and it's easier to the player to understand what he have to do in the different situations of the game. And here I have to say that I'm talking about the placement of the shots, but you can use it in the smash situations, in the push situations, go by the air situations, and you can have this information for what you want. So during the training sessions, you probably will start to play games more times. So even more accurate is your player and the players in your training session, you will start probably to make more and more games between them. And what I suggest is that you take note of every result that what they are doing, and add to that information some things more that can give you more information and don't give you a lot of more work to do. So I have this example. So you have the final score. Probably you the bigger part of the times you will only put the final score. But if you divide the different hands during the game, if you put the jack was played by who, the side of the jack, and the distance of the jack, you can easily have a very important information. First of all, you have more data and more validation of your results. And after that, you have more hands played, and you can see the accuracy of winning. And you can see the accuracy of winning when they play the jack, or when the hand is to the left side, or when the hand is for the right side. And if you can see if there are some evidence of the tendency of play for one side or the other side. Or even if you can get information from the distance that we want. Here we have the example for 5 to 6 meters and 6 to 7, but the software will give you for the distance that you will put here in the distance of the jack. So as you can see, it's not so much to do, but the information that you can have is bigger and important. So with that, we try to complement the information collected before. We can confirm or not the match plans, reconfigure the match plans, and we can recognize easily the weakness and the strengths of the players. Perhaps at that moment, your player will start to compete. So for sure, he will try to make the best performance as possible, but it's possible that he won and you as coach don't like of that performance. And it's possible that he plays in the last position and you will be very happy with that. It happens because with the information that you have collected, you have much more information about your player and you can see easily if he performed as expected or not. So in order to do that, you have to make the match analysis. So this is very, in my opinion, very important because you, with your team of coaches and with your players, you can define the goals that you want. Sometimes the players say, I want to achieve the first place or I want to achieve the one medal. But I think as coach, it can be more important to get another type of objectives. If you have one player that usually the accuracy at 3 meters is 80%, is important that in the game he maintains that accuracy. And if you lost the game, but the accuracy of that was 80%, for me is okay because he does what he has to do. So we have to think in the planification of the goals, in my way, more this. So the game analysis that I propose is having in the iPad the order of the balls, and during the game you will put this: will play, the type of shot that play, the accuracy of the shot, and this is the quality of the shot. And with that information, we put the length and the width of the jack ball, and during the game we will have all information. Immediately after the game, we have the information that we want. After that, and during the week after the championship, you can ask the player to try to do the same thing in order to compare and to add some information that can be important, like what he thought about the opponent's strengths, the weakness of the opponent, the good things that happened during the game, the not so good things that happened during the game, the thing that the player can shoot different, and next time that will defeat that opponent, what he will do. And recording this will stay with us forever. And next time that we'll play again that opponent, we'll have it in your hand. So with that data, we can have immediately, like I said before, all the information of the game, and we can have the information by different type of shots, by end or by final or total game. So we have the total average of the player, and we have the average of the different types of shot during the game. For us, this can be easier to read, but for the player, it can be better if you can group that one. But this is immediately. So you can compare easily the difference between the two players that are playing. And you can see easily too what is the type of shot more used in the game. And during these years, I can see that usually the placement shot is the shot that is most used in the games. So that can be important to our planning again, because the placement is so important. So we have to work on that. So we do the analysis, the game analysis, to understand the performance of the player during the game, to compare the performance with expect, to compare the performance with the other players, observe the fulfillment of goals, assess and reconfigure the match plans, collect information about the opponents, and understand the flow of the games and take note of the most common types of shot. Yes, Heather? No. Okay. So after some competitions, it's important to have more information, not only about our players, but from the opponents. So the game analysis can be the first point. But to the opponents, like I said before, the quantitative information can be helpful too. So one example to do that is have an observation sheet that we can put here some quantitative data from the opponents, and we can explain the behaviors of the opponent in different aspects. So with that, we have some information that can be useful later. And we can to use the situations like the business intelligence software that they are able to do. This is the first balls of one player during one competition, and this is all of his positions of the jack, and we can see the tendency of play of this player. But if you go deeper, we can add to these informations the position of the jack and when he win or lose the hand. And in green are the wins, and in red are the losses. But another thing that can be important here to understand why he have some balls longer, in this case was because of that, is because he is losing when he's playing the jack. So this is in the third or fourth hand. When this player is losing, he always plays long. So this information can be important to plan in advance. So this is important to understand the tendencies of play of the opponent, to find the weakness and strength of the opponent, and prepare the game in advance, preparing specific game plans. And as you know, it's very different to prepare a game if you go to play against one player that use the foot or is underarmed or upper armed. So we have to think differently depending of the player that we have. So continuing your pathway in coach, sometimes if you have a big team, or if you have to select some players to enter in one competition, you have to make some difficult decisions. Obviously, you have to consider your coach sense and instinct. But if you have some collective and organized information, it can help you. And look at these examples. So if you have the average values of all your players, you can easily try to understand the behavior of the pairs. For example, this time is the pairs. And how can the different pairs work together based on the average of them? At green, we have the numbers that are more than the average. So I have that information in green, if the value is more than the average. And in the end, I can have the information of the total accuracy of the players for all courts. So why this is important? Because imagine that we will play against one team that usually plays short. So perhaps this B and D player can be a good choice. But if you will play against one team that will play more longer, maybe the B and C can be a good solution. But you have to look and analyze and test it in training sessions. So again, here, if you have the information of one player and you have the information of all the other players, we can easily understand what and where are the strengths and the weakness of the player. And here the player is in orange, the group of players is in blue, and at green we have the points where he is better, and at red the points where he is worst from the group. So it's easier to understand where are your players. And you can, if you have the data of the top best players of the world, even better, because you can compare and you can be at level, what is the level of your player. So use that to help the coach to take better decisions and to base the choice made on information decision making about the player's choice, individual slots or team pair competitions, and to understand the effective value of players comparing to the other players. And to end this, during your coach life, it can be important to have some record about the games that you and your players have made. To that, after each competitions, if you put the individual matches and the final placings in one data, once again, the user statistics can help you to resume that record. So here is the players, the results of one player against one opponent, and we have for all opponents, and we have the opponents of the player here, and the games that the total games that he had made, the winning, the losses, and in the group phase, in the quarterfinals phase, the semifinals phase, and in the finals. So with that, we have the information that can give to the player in total numbers. We have easily the understanding of the level of the player, usually won his group phase. So one goal from this player, it can be past the group phase because usually he passed. But if he goes to the semifinals 89%, so the goal can be try to get this one. So when we show this to the players, we will help him to understand it, and it's good to have it and to share with the newspaper of the city, and to collect to make some comments like Orna do in Israel during the Paralympics games. So this information, if she have it, it can be a good information to share and to comment. So to end this presentation, I would like to share a thought of Sun Tzu. He was a Chinese general who lived around 500 years before Christ, and he is a strategic and philosopher of a major name of a military school of Chinese philosophy. In book The Art of War, represent one war philosophy to manage conflicts and win battles. In the book, he wrote this. If you know your opponent as yourself, don't be afraid of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but you don't know your opponent, for every victory you will suffer a defeat. If you don't know yourself or your opponent, you will succumb in every battle. So imagine Boccia games like little battles, and the use of statistics can be the best way to know your opponents, and with that, for sure, you will be closer to beat them, or at least you will be better prepared to confront him. Statistics can help us as coaches to make well-informed decisions.